This is an article from The Root. The author is Kenya Downs. It's called From a Black DACA Recipient. African American Support Critical to Reform. Maria always knew she was undocumented. I just didn't understand what that meant and the consequences it would create for me, she says. It wasn't until a high school classmate, while studying financial planning, asked Maria if she had her social security number memorized that it began to hit home. As an immigrant from Zambia, brought to the U.S. at the age of 4, Maria didn't have a social security number. That meant no legal employment, no social services, and limited educational opportunities. It was an eye-opening foreshadowing of what she faced as one of the estimated 585,000 black immigrants living in the U.S. illegally. It's been 17 years, and now she's one of the 800,000 undocumented immigrants granted temporary protection through the program known as Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. DACA has allowed her to go to college, acquire a work permit, and contribute to her adopted home without fear. And here they have a quote from her. But Maria was ineligible to renew Thursday for the extension that could protect her from deportation to 2020 because she renewed a year before President Donald Trump announced his intent to rescind the program. Her DACA status is set to expire next August, and she's facing the devastating reality of possibly returning to a life in the shadows. It's a real anxiety that so many of us face, coming to terms with the fact that we may be forced to leave the only place we consider home or stay hidden all over again, she says. Her only option for remaining in the U.S. legally is if Congress passes immigration reform or, at very least, legislation that would resolve the statuses of nearly 1.3 million undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. Maria is hopeful that support from African Americans can be the tipping point in the fight for that reform. The start, she says, is understanding the complexities that make black immigrants and African Americans more alike than different. So basically, she's searching for that intersectionality, basically. People don't look at me and think immigrant. I'm seen as black and as a woman. Automatically, those two experiences we're having together, she says, that makes the realities I face as a black woman living in this country no different. According to the Migration Policy Institute, black immigrants account for about 5% of the estimated 11.4 million undocumented migrants currently living in the United States. But they face challenges unique to their blackness, including being detained and deported at a rate more than 5 times the representation within the immigration population. Okay, and to the left is a group called BAJI, Black Alliance for Just Immigration. And this group was started by a co-founder of Black Lives Matter. And it's just going over the numbers of the countries that black immigrants come from the most. You got Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and Nigeria. Existing within that intersection of being of both black immigrant identities can mean never fully feeling a part of either. It's draining to feel like you don't fully identify with the African American experience because of your culture, but then also to not have your blackness fully represented within the immigrant movement, Maria says. So where do I fall? Gregory Deer is an activist and organizer with Undocumented Black, an immigration advocacy group, and is among those at the forefront of making sure the voices of black immigrants are heard. He says that inclusion is essential, not just among immigrant groups that can often be dominated by non-black Latino perspectives, but also among the diverse ethnic backgrounds that make up black America today. As the son of Jamaican and Dominican immigrants, Deer says that African Americans and black immigrants are too often pitted against each other for political posturing. If we just cut the crap and really break down what immigration does, the ways black immigration in particular have benefited our communities, he says, we can have a more productive conversation that breaks down the barriers white supremacy in our society has built between us. However, he says, the most immediate need is to understand exactly what's at stake right now. Deere is most concerned about potentially ruthless enforcement of immigration laws by the Trump administration, mirroring the police brutality that he says the country already witnesses against black and brown people in cities all across America. For more intersectionality, Deere is among those in a plethora of organizations racing to help DACA recipients before the deadline and educate them on their rights beyond. Some immigrants face falling back into undocumented status as early as March. Deere and others like Mawia are employing African Americans to join the cause, even if fear among immigrant communities means they never know exactly who they're fighting for. It could be the local Cameroonian hair braider or the chef of the Trinidadian restaurant, Mawia says. It's tough enough being black in America. Coming forward to admit they're worried about staying here could be a whole new level of trauma, quote unquote. With less than 12 months until her own DACA status expires, Mawia has yet to consider her next steps. She just wants to return to college and get back to the Maryland community she's been a part of since she first arrived 17 years ago. I'm here, we're here, as your neighbors, your colleagues, friends, and peers. When we band together, there's no stopping us. We could use the support of our people, she says. Okay, and we got one comment right here from Juby the Great. And it says, people don't look at me and think immigrant. I'm seen as black. As a woman, automatically those two experiences we're having together, she says. That makes the realities I face as a black woman living in this country no different. Unfortunately, though, a lot of black immigrants, specifically African and Caribbean, do hold themselves out as not black. They'll say, I'm not black, I'm Nigerian, Jamaican, etc. Okay, this article right here is the truth about one-sided DACA reporting. Because we always hear about how DACA and immigration don't really affect the black community, so I wanted to share this. I'm not going to read the whole article, and I'm just going to read the part that's pertinent to the discussion here. Okay, here it goes. Say, fewer studies look at minority employment specifically. But a 2010 paper by economists George Borjas, Jeffrey Brager, and Gordon Hanson is very relevant here, entitled Immigration and the Economic Status of African American Men. The paper estimates that increases in low-skilled immigration are associated with lower employment rates, lower wages, and higher incarceration rates for black men. In a study published the same year, sociologist Edward Shahade, and Raymond Barranco found that black unemployment tends to be higher in cities where immigration is high.
I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out.